ngayong buntag.
Today's reading is from the Gospel of Luke, chapters 12, verses 13 through 21, and page 1252 in your pew Bibles. A man in the crowd said to Jesus, "Teacher, tell my brother to give me my share of what our father left us when he died." Jesus answered, "Who gave you the right to settle arguments between you and your brother?" Then he said to the crowd, "Don't be greedy. Owning a lot of things won't make your life safe." So Jesus told them this story. A rich man's farm produced a big crop, and he said to himself, "What can I do? I don't have a place large enough to store everything." Later, he said, "Now I know what I'll do. I'll tear down my barns and build bigger ones where I can store all my grain and other goods. Then I'll say to myself, you have stored up enough good things to last for years to come. Live it up, eat, drink, and enjoy yourself." But God said to him, "You fool, tonight you will die. Then who will get what you have stored up?" This is what happens to people who store up everything for themselves, but are poor in the sight of God. Amen.
Amen.
I feel that I have a great advantage in the fact that I came from no religious background, and then I went to school and studied all the major religions. And so I personally picked Jesus as the one that I really could resonate with him, and he was the one I chose to follow. But at the same time, that doesn't mean I can't glean other good things from other religious traditions that kind of fill in some of the gaps. And one of them I find in Buddhism. And probably the first principle of Buddhism is all life is suffering, because we are unable to give up that which is impermanent. It can be people in our lives, it can be stuff that we've accumulated, and it can even be feelings that are very negative, like anger and resentment and feelings of betrayal. If we're not willing to give them up, guess what? We will be miserable. Last Friday I had an opportunity to go to a Muslim worship service on Friday. That's when they have their services. And Fawaz Masri, who owns the gas station across the street, is the leader of this group. It's a progressive Muslim group that meets in Arcadia. And of course I don't understand Arabic, but it was also partially in English. And he gave a sermon, and it was very good. It was about being kind to other people, and really seeing and looking out and see that there's a need that needs to be fulfilled. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Jesus would agree, wouldn't he? Isn't that true? Anyway, this reading today has a special meaning for me because it shows the principle of hoarding things, not sharing them, is not really the way to go. And greed really is you might say, the real bottom line of why people are so miserable and they don't get along with each other. There's an old Zen tale of two monks. One was an elderly monk and one was much, much younger. And they were walking down the street and they saw this very wealthy woman. And she was sitting in some kind of a fancy chair, and she had attendants around them, and they were holding packages for her. And that was just after they had a really hard rain, and there were a lot of puddles. And there was no way that this woman could climb over the puddle. But these people had all the packages, of hers, and they would be able to pick her up and help her over the puddle. So the young monk was just like, "Oh, let's just keep on going." And the older monk said, "No, she needs to get over there." So he puts her over his shoulder and kind of leaps over the puddle and gets her there. And she doesn't even thank him. Nothing. Now, sometimes people would be very resentful, wouldn't they? Can at least say thank you. And so a couple hours go by, and the younger monk says to the older monk, well, aren't you kind of angry? She didn't even thank you. And he said, I put her down hours ago. Why have you not also? Because he still was thinking about how awful that was to be. There's another true story that I think a lot of you are aware of. And most of you are probably familiar with the fire they had in Paradise, California. Well, there was a couple who was interviewed by the Sacramento Bee newspaper. And they were asked about their experience of the fire. And here they are, this couple. And luckily they were able to escape with their dog. And to me, that's really important. I don't know if his name was Fido or whatever, but come on. And he came right with them. They did not have time to grab pictures. So all their family photographs were burned in the fire. All their furniture and the house itself was totally burned to the ground. Now a lot of people, especially if they put a lot of effort into it, and you never know about the insurance, some of them, people have found out that their insurance is better than others, if they'd ever be able to rebuild again. I don't know the answer to that. But the main thing with them is the wife was the one that said, you know what? It's only stuff. It's only stuff. They had their lives, and they had their precious dog, and they were able to get out and not burn up in the fire, and they were grateful. You know, there were a lot of other people who were interviewed that didn't feel that way. It's like their world came to the end. Everything they'd worked for, all the wonderful things that they had, you know, were all burned to the ground. Yeah, but it's really just stuff, isn't it? And maybe you'll never be able to replace it, particularly family photos and things like that. Personal items that people that you love gave to you, all destroyed. But if you have your life, that's the important thing. And they were just grateful that they were alive. I know how difficult it must be to lose somebody that you really care about. And one of the chaplains from not Methodist Hospital, but Children's Hospital, shared this story with me. There were two families that she was working with. And even though leukemia has come pretty close to a cure, especially in children, not everybody survives. There was one mother in particular that had an 8-year-old boy, and he was dying. And she was angry, but she claimed that she had faith in God, and God would just take care of this, and that her church family had been praying with her, and that everything would be fine. The other mother had a 5-year-old girl, and she was really doing terrible. She had come back from being, you know, seemingly cured, and all the symptoms came back again. Now this mother did not come from a faith background, but she had a different feeling about it. I had my precious child, who is so loving, and so beautiful, and meant so much to me, that if anything happens, I am just grateful that I had 5 years with this precious child. Now, she was not a person of faith or anything. It was just the way she looked at it. Both children, unfortunately, died. And the one who claimed to be the one of faith was angry at God because God didn't just zoom in and cure the kid. Whereas the other mother, who wasn't a person of faith, was just grateful that she had her little daughter for 5 years. Now, in reality, who is the person of faith, really? Think about it. Because claiming something but not living it means nothing. Gratitude for what you have, even if you don't have it for a short period of time, is what really counts. And unfortunately, children do die. And loved ones do die. And this is something that we all have to experience. But just be grateful that we have them in our lives, even for a short period of time. We should have a sense of gratitude that they meant so much to us, and that we can be people who really are thankful. I have my own personal story of giving up stuff. And it wasn't because I wanted to. I mean, who wants to lose their stuff, particularly if it's really nice? My father passed away when he was only 52 years old and left me his insurance. And I went kind of crazy, like a lot of people do when they come into money. And I went out and bought, it was a cool car back in those days. It was a Chevy Malibu Super Sport. It had the black vinyl top. It had candy red apple with the racing stripes. It was a cool car, right? Oh, I love that car. And so my husband had, you might say, a drinking problem. And so he wanted to borrow the car because he was working late that night. So I said, oh, sure. He totaled the car 3 days after I got it. That was before I became a person of faith. Let's just say I wasn't very happy. My car. But now, in retrospect, it's just stuff. Then I went out and got all this beautiful furniture. And he had a habit of smoking while laying down on the sofa. Do I have to say much more? He would fall asleep, and then the ashes would hit that beautiful sofa, all of these burn holes all over it. And I think the real goodie was the time that I shouldn't have had it open, but I had my violin case open with a violin in there, and he was stepping backwards and stepping right on my violin. Guess what? I could never play my violin again. But again, it's just stuff. Losing so much really helped me personally to know that what's really important, that cool candy apple red car, could go. But I still think about it sometimes. My beautiful sofa, it was a real expensive one. It's just a sofa, right? It's not my life. And maybe that's an excuse not to play the violin anymore, because I don't have it. And I really wasn't all that good. But the point of what Jesus was trying to tell us is that if we try to hoard things, you know, we will never be blessed. There will be resentment. And if you've ever been involved in a family dispute, or you know a family where the siblings aren't speaking to each other because one thinks that he or she has more than the other, there's where you really, really find a problem. Because then there's resentment. Mom said she was going to give me that locket. What are you doing with it? Dad said that I would get his watch. And, you know, and they fight over money. A lot of times they get along with each other fine until one of the parent dies. Then you have siblings that aren't even speaking to each other. And it happens day in and day out all the time. And I don't care what part of the world you're from, or who you are, what your nationality is, greed can really cause a problem. Because you really think that stuff is that important. And so I think Jesus knew what he was talking about. He didn't want to get involved in the squabble. Because in the end, it's just stuff. Amen.